Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about the Foucauldian approach to understand body. Foucault and his understanding of body is one of the most influential, radical social constructivist way of understanding. This approach is primarily characterized by two things. The first one is about its substantial preoccupations on body and the institutions that govern body. Secondly, it follows an epistemological view which conceives body as produced by discourse or body as existing in discourse. So discourse become the central context in which body is understood in Foucauldian framework. Or discourses can be seen as a set of deep principles incorporating specific grids of meaning which become the basis or which generate and establish relations between all that can be seen, thought, and said. In another way, discourses are the way that our knowledge is constituted, the way we understand, experience, and think and practice about any particular phenomenon. So, this discursive analysis is central in Foucauldian understanding of histories of bodies. Most of the Foucault's work is centered around histories of bodies, which tries to map the relationship between the body and the effects of power on it. So the dominant power become central in the way these discursive constructions are happening. These discourses which link the everyday practices to the larger organization of power of the system or the society. This can be illustrated through his analysis of discipline and punishment or the history of sexuality. Both of these work is trying to trace the trajectory of the discursive formations of disciplinary practices at different points in history, or the way sexuality is regulated the bodies in histories. So he argues that with the coming of modernity, the spaces occupied by these discourses have been changed. It changed specifically in three contexts: the target of discourse, the object of discourse, and scope of discourse. The target of discourse has moved from the body as flesh to a mindful body. The object of discourse has shifted from the death of the individual to the productive life of the individual. The scope of the discourse has shifted from the individual to the society. The target of discourse in the monarchic systems of discipline, the body or the corporeal body become the locus of brutal punishment. Whereas in modern prison system, it is the panopticon model of surveillance that controls the mindful body indirectly. Similarly, the locus of sexuality also moved from the focus on flesh to the minds of subjects. The traditional ways of regulating sexuality in the confessions practices of Christianity moved from the physicality of the body to the intention, why, how these acts of sexual deviance happens in a society. So in a way, trying to control the minds of the subjects. Similarly, the objective discourse in the modern world have moved to the more of government systems are trying to look at the life than death or health or diet or any corporeal habits which are central to the life of the individual. Earlier, it was the death of the individual is the central locus of disciplinary regimes, whereas in the modern prison system, it is the productive aspect of the prison inmates becomes the locus of attention. Similarly, in sexuality, the morality was controlled in terms of our understanding of afterlife, after death, how you are being treated. So now it is moved to the more productive forms of reproductive sexual life, which is accepted, whereas other forms are not accepted as such. And again, the sexuality is moving away from the reproductive sex to the modern world identity and lifestyle and so forth. So finally, the shift in scope of discourse is moved in the traditional regimes of power of controlling the anonymous individual to the whole population, that the panopticon model has been expanded to other forms of social life, be it in the schools or hospital or military barracks, or in the modern way, this indirect surveillance and control is so embodied and explicated in all walks of life. So similarly, the sex and sexuality, the focus have shifted from the control of individual body to the control of population. Even in 18th century, we have different categories available to talk about the sexual deviance of hysterical women, masturbating child, or perverse adult. Whereas the Malthusian couple, who are the legitimate heterosexual couple who are reproducing for the maintenance of the society as required, is the most legitimate ways of sexual interactions in the modern world. This Foucauldian approach, which talks about the changing spaces of discourse in the modern world, is talking about two important things. One is about a greater individuation narrative, as Turner has argued. Here we are becoming more susceptible to the governmental control of the body. This The focus have shifted from the individual to population, body to mind, and death to life, which we have already been seen. And this achievement of this control in this modern world is achieved not through repression but through active simulation of desires, which is well established in modern capitalist systems and consumerist society. The major criticism of the Foucauldian approach is that, as the body produce the discourses, or the body is produced in discourses, uh, at the end of the analysis, body vanishes. So even though there is a real substantive concern with body as an actual product of constructing discourses, no, body as something already been given kind of an understanding is available in this Foucauldian approach, which is body is available to be constructed by discourses. The individual agency to control one's own body is not available in this particular kind of an approach, and which is primarily stemming from the epistemological view that body is constructed in this discursive context, and therefore body disappears as a biological phenomenon. Once the body is contained within the modern disciplinary system, it is the mind which takes over the location of discursive power. So in a way, this also lead to another kind of an essentialism, that it is about the discursive essentialism, that everything is produced in this discursive formations. So this is the larger criticism on Foucauldian approach in understanding body. However, this approach have expanded the way the different social scientists have looked upon body and its intricate relation with society. So we will look into those kind of approaches in our later segments. Thank you.